Learn how timeless wisdom empowers you to overcome life's greatest trials. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind screaming in your ears, and below you, an endless abyss of uncertainty. You've been pushed here by life, by heartbreak, failure, rejection, or loss. There's no turning back, and the only way forward is to leap. But here's the twist. The leap is not into the unknown. It's into yourself. The question is, will you trust the wisdom already within you to navigate the fall? What if I told you that the answer to life's greatest trials has been whispered across millennia, hidden in plain sight, that it's not about avoiding pain, sidestepping failure, or fighting circumstances, but about mastering your inner world? Imagine living with a quiet confidence that no storm, no betrayal, no loss could shake. What if everything you need to conquer life is already within your control? Centuries ago, a slave named Epictetus discovered this truth. Shackled in chains, his body was not his to command, but his mind, untouchable. He famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And in those words lies the essence of timeless wisdom. Now, let's bring this ancient philosophy into today's world. Picture a modern professional, a single mother balancing 3 jobs, a young entrepreneur watching their startup collapse, or a student drowning in self-doubt. Each faces their cliff, yet within them, whether they realize it or not, lies the power to respond with resilience, to rise above the chaos. You and I are no different. Our challenges, whether financial, emotional, or existential, are the cliffs we stand on. The first lesson we must learn is this: life will never stop throwing trials our way, but we can choose how we face them. Let me ask you this: when was the last time you truly paused and asked yourself, what's really within my control? Here's where the dichotomy of control comes into play, a core Stoic principle that separates what is in our power from what isn't. Think about it. You can't control other people's opinions, the weather, or the economy, but you can control your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. Reflect on this for a moment. How much suffering in your life comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? Let me share a story to bring this home. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors of Rome, wrote his meditations not as a public work, but as a personal journal. Amid wars, betrayals, and the weight of ruling an empire, he reminded himself daily of one thing: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine writing those words to yourself every morning. Now think about this. How often do you give away your peace to things you cannot control? Every unkind word, every setback, every unforeseen tragedy, it's easy to let them rule us. But Marcus would argue that the battle is not out there. It's within. Take a moment to visualize the last conflict you faced. Maybe it was an argument with a loved one or a professional failure. Were you trying to change the other person, to control the outcome? Now, ask yourself, what would have changed if I focused only on my response? How to turn suffering into strength, the Stoic art of transformation. Let's imagine suffering as a forge. The fire is hot, relentless, and unyielding. At first, it feels like destruction, a cruel and meaningless burn. But what if I told you this fire isn't here to destroy you? It's here to transform you, to temper you into something unbreakable. And the tool for navigating this forge is the Stoic mindset. When you face pain, whether it's loss, failure, or rejection, it's tempting to label it as unfair. Why me? We ask. But let's challenge that perspective for a moment. What if every hardship was a teacher? What if every setback contained a seed of strength? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Now think about your life. What's your greatest pain right now? It might be a broken relationship, financial strain, or a dream slipping through your fingers. Instead of asking why this is happening, let's ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to grow, to understand this transformation? Let's visit Seneca, Another great Stoic philosopher, Seneca, faced exile, disgrace, and the constant threat of execution under Emperor Nero. Yet he wrote profoundly about resilience. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about that for a moment. How often does the fear of what might happen hurt more than the event itself? Let me give you a modern example. Imagine an athlete training for the Olympics. Their journey is filled with injuries, failures, and relentless discipline. To an outsider, it looks like suffering, but to the athlete, it's transformation. They endure not because they love the pain, but because they understand its purpose. And this is where Stoicism invites us to reframe our trials, not as punishments, but as pathways to strength. Here's a challenge for you. The next time you face adversity, ask yourself, what part of this is within my control, and how can I use it to grow? Let's break this down with a practical exercise. Step 1. Acknowledge the pain without resistance. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about facing reality head-on. Step 2. Identify what's within your control. Is it your mindset? Your actions? Step 3. Redirect your energy toward that. For example, if you lose a job, it's natural to feel despair. But instead of ruminating on the loss, a Stoic would focus on what they can control, updating their skills, reaching out to connections, and staying disciplined. Now let me ask you, what's one trial in your life you can reframe today? Take a moment to think deeply about this. The beauty of this mindset is that it doesn't deny the pain. It transforms it. Let's return to Marcus Aurelius. Imagine him during a brutal war, surrounded by chaos and betrayal. Instead of succumbing to anger or despair, he reminded himself, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Your destruction will come from within, not from outside events. This isn't just ancient wisdom. Modern psychology aligns with this approach. Studies show that reframing challenges, seeing them as opportunities for growth, reduces stress and increases resilience. Think about it. The stories you tell yourself about your pain shape your reality. So let me challenge you again. What story are you telling yourself about your hardships? Are you the victim, or are you the hero in transformation? To illustrate this further, let's look at a powerful real-life story. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, endured unimaginable suffering in concentration camps. Stripped of everything, family, freedom, even his identity, he found one thing they couldn't take: his ability to choose his response. Frankl wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." What if you applied that level of ownership to your own life? Imagine being unshakable, not because the world is kind, but because you've mastered your inner world. But let's not romanticize this process. Transformation is hard. It's messy. It's not about instant enlightenment. It's about daily discipline. Picture a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. Each strike feels small, almost insignificant, but over time, a masterpiece emerges. That's your journey. Let me leave you with a deep question. What masterpiece is waiting to emerge from your pain? The blueprint for mastering inner freedom, becoming unshakable amid chaos. Imagine standing in the eye of a storm. Around you, the winds howl, lightning cracks, and chaos reigns. Yet you remain still, unshaken, like a mountain rising through the tempest. This is the essence of inner freedom, a state where the world can rage, but your peace is untouched. The question is, how do we get there? Inner freedom begins with a single realization. Control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable. People are fallible, and no amount of planning can shield us from the unexpected. But here's the paradox. The less we cling to control, the freer we become. As Epictetus put it, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Think about that for a moment. How often do we tie our happiness to things outside ourselves? Success, approval, possessions? What happens when those things slip away? As they inevitably do? Let me ask you a deeper question. If you lost everything external, would you still have yourself? This brings us to the heart of Stoicism, the mastery of self. To become unshakable, we must cultivate virtues that anchor us: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't abstract ideals. They are practical tools for navigating life. Let's start with wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to see life clearly, to distinguish between what matters and what doesn't. It's about stepping back and asking, is this worth my energy, my time, my peace? When someone criticizes you, wisdom reminds you that their words reflect their state of mind, not your worth. When faced with failure, wisdom helps you see it as feedback, not defeat. But wisdom alone isn't enough. We need courage, the bravery to act on our principles, even when it's uncomfortable or frightening. Courage is what allows you to speak your truth, to face uncertainty, and to persist in the face of rejection. Reflect on this. What fear is holding you back right now? And what would courage look like in that situation? Justice is the third pillar. It's about living in harmony with others, treating people with fairness and respect. Justice doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means approaching it with integrity. Imagine a world where everyone acted not out of selfishness, but from a commitment to the greater good. Now ask yourself, how often do I act with justice in my own life? Finally, there's temperance, the art of balance. It's about mastering your desires, not being mastered by them. Temperance teaches us to enjoy life without excess, to work hard without burning out, and to love without losing ourselves. Let's bring these virtues to life with a story. Picture a young entrepreneur whose business is failing. They feel the weight of debt, the sting of criticism, and the fear of starting over. But instead of spiraling, they turn to these virtues. Wisdom helps them detach from the fear of failure and see it as a stepping stone. Courage pushes them to pivot their approach and try again. Justice keeps them honest with their employees and partners. Temperance reminds them to rest and recharge, even amid the chaos. This is the blueprint for inner freedom. It's not about avoiding the storm. It's about becoming the calm within it. And here's the best part. These virtues are already within you. They don't require wealth, status, or privilege. They require only one thing: practice. Start small. When faced with a challenge, pause and ask, what's the wise response here? The courageous action? The just and balanced choice? Over time, these questions become second nature. You start to live with a quiet confidence, a sense that no matter what happens, you will be okay. But let's address the elephant in the room. What about when life feels unbearable? When the storm isn't just outside but inside you? This is where the Stoic practice of negative visualization comes in. It might sound counterintuitive, but imagining worst-case scenarios can be liberating. Why? Because it prepares you. It helps you see that even if the worst happens, you can survive. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He would wake up and remind himself, today, I will encounter ingratitude, deceit, arrogance, and selfishness. This wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. And by anticipating these challenges, he was never caught off guard. Let me ask you this. What's the worst-case scenario in your life right now? And how could you prepare for it? The beauty of Stoicism is that it doesn't promise a life without pain. It promises a life where pain doesn't define you. Imagine living like that, free from the need to control, free from the weight of others' opinions, free to face any trial with dignity and strength. As we near the end of this journey, let me share one final thought. Freedom is not something you earn or achieve. It's something you realize. It's the moment you stop fighting the world and start mastering yourself. And when you do, the storms of life become what they were always meant to be, a backdrop to your unshakable peace. So, I'll leave you with one last question to ponder. What would your life look like if you chose to master yourself instead of the world?